जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय वृंदावन बोलो जय राधे जय कृष्णा श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय वृंदावन श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ ओ जय राधे जय कृष्ण जय वृंदावन ओ जय राधे जय कृष्ण जय वृंदावन श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो बोलो
Chaitanya Prabhu, Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Govinda Radha Kundu Shyama Kundu Giri Godan ki Jai. Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ravi Dham ki Jai. Ganga Yamuna Mai ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani ki Jai. Ram Sankirtan ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi और वरिष्ठ संबंध और वरिष्ठ संबंध और श्री गुरु and Gauranga. Thank you very much for your wonderful kirtan. Thank you, Krishna. I'd like to welcome all the devotees to this most auspicious evening. We are blessed to have the presence of His grace. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki Jai. So, with great difficulty we got actually. Prabhu was going to come before it. His visa didn't come through in time. Prabhu had to go and visit a few other countries before he could make it to Australia. Very fortunate to have him. His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is a very senior disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, who is a direct disciple of Sri Prabhupada, very senior disciple of Prabhupada. Radhanath Swami Maharaj is well known all over the world. And I would like to call upon Shyam Kumar to do justice to introducing such a great person here today. So fortunate to have him, a spiritual scientist and our Gita daily mentor and so many things. So I'll hand over to Shyam Prabhu to do a proper introduction. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu actually needs no introduction. But I would like to share a few things with people, especially who don't know him very well. Prabhu is, in his material life, or in terms of his material qualification, Prabhu is an electronics and telecommunications engineer. And he had taught the GRE in Maharashtra. And he did work in software companies, in a few multinational companies. But then, after meeting his spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, Prabhu decided to dedicate his life completely to spirituality. and now he offers spiritual education through various courses to people around the world. Prabhu is a member of ISKCON's top intellectual body, Shastric Advisory Council, and this body gives advice to GBC on scriptural matters. And Prabhu is a key member of that Scriptural Advisory Council. He obviously is a very, very world-renowned, globally renowned author, speaker, coach, mentor, travels around the world from America to Australia, gives discourses on some spiritual subjects, and in some very, very prestigious institutions like universities like Princeton, Yale, Cambridge, and also in companies like Microsoft and Intel. So Prabhu is well regarded in all prestigious places. He's authored more than 30 books, and many of those books, I'm sure many of you are aware, many of those books are bestsellers, not just in India, but in many parts of the world. Worldwide, they are bestsellers. So, a very famous person. And also, Prabhu has written thousands and thousands of articles on his website, The Spiritual Scientist, has responded to thousands and thousands of queries that come from people situated in various parts of the world. And he is the author of the world's only Gita daily feature, in which Prabhu actually presents his reflections on a Gita verse every day, 365 days a year. Can you believe it? That's Prabhu. But I'll tell you something which is not mentioned even on the website. And this is completely based on my personal experience. When it comes to analyzing the Gita, there is absolutely nobody better than him. When it comes to dissecting every quarter of every shloka of the Gita in a meaningful manner, there is absolutely nobody better than him. And when it comes to figuring out the philosophical subtleties hidden in every word of every quarter of every shloka of the Gita, there is no one better than him. So that's I'm very, very fortunate to get his association. He comes once a year, every year, and I absolutely look forward to that period. I actually take some time off work, during that period. So let's formally welcome Prabhu by loudly chanting Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
After that introduction, whatever I speak is going to be an anticlimax. I'm grateful to be here with all of you. Are those who are able to see this whiteboard? Maybe if your chairs are there, because I'll be writing and drawing some things. We have space, some of you can come here also. Maybe some of the Prabhus can come here. Some of the Vaishnavas can come a little closer this side. Can some of you come here? All of you move this side. Because from there you will not be able to see. Of course, if you don't want to see, that is fine. So, I'll be reading from one of my books in the Bhagavad Gita. It's Prayers Inspired by the World. I think we bought very few copies. We're trying to get more right now at home. So we sent you some copies. We have to get them. 5-6 copies we distributed just now.
Yeah, you can copy.
Okay, so you can read in the book or you can read over here. So, in this book, I have taken verses from the Bhagavad Gita, rendered them in English poetry, and then taken one prayer as inspired by that verse. And there are beautiful pictures of deities of Krishna from all over the world. So today I'll be talking about the theme of dealing with suffering in life, and we'll take it based on the 11th chapter, Krishna's words that are there. So this is Krishna responding to Arjuna. After Arjuna sees the Virata Rupa, gets a little alarmed and asks, who are you? So let us begin with some prayers and then we will come to this verse. Silence reading. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatpradeshakarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please guide us all so that we can find shelter and strength in your words to face life's inevitable problems and pains. Hare Krishna. So, let's recite this verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kalosmi Loka Kshayakrit Pravriddho Lokan Samaharta Iha Pravrittaha Rutepi Tvam Na Bhavishyanti Sarve Ye Amsthivata Pratyanikeshu Yodha. Supreme Lord said, I am dying, the world-destroying flame, arriving here with deathly aim. Even without your arrows in play, these warriors are doomed this day. So Krishna is telling over here that there is a higher plan, option and action, and there is something that is going to happen by that higher plan. Can you start the recording? Started already?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start it from now.
Oh, it's on.
We can stop and start it from now.
Oh.
Okay. So the title for this prayer is that though time may be destructive, let me be creative in holding on while letting go. So we talk about this paradox of life where we need to let go of things, but at the same time we need to hold on. And how to balance that requires creativity. So I request different participants to read one paragraph. Who would like to read the first paragraph? Yes, please.
My dear Lord, among all realities, death is the most denied, the most dreaded, and yet the most definite. Nonetheless, when I learn to become conscious of you, it changes my vision of everything, even death.
Yes. So, one of the biggest theological challenges, with respect to God, philosophical, but more specifically theological challenges is that if God is good, why is there so much pain in the world? Why is there so much difficulty, pain, problems, and why does God cause it, or why does God even let it happen? And this question has no easy answers. It requires some level of depth. So the two sessions we are going to take. In the first session, our focus is going to be on So first will be, in today's session, we are going to look at looking beyond pain. That means, when pain is there in life, we need relief. And how to see Krishna as a reality bigger than our pain. And how to find relief through perceiving not just Krishna. Okay. Only on the other side here. Okay, I'll just hold this from me, it's okay. Okay, thank you. So in today's session, we'll be discussing about how to look beyond the pain to Krishna. And by that, what will happen is, we can learn to live with pain rather than in pain. So with pain, in pain means what? This is my consciousness. My consciousness is filled with pain. So I'm living with pain. Or rather I'm living in pain. But here, I can live in pain. So I see a bigger reality. I see Krishna, and that enables me to, so I see relief even in the presence of the pain. That helps me to bear the situation. And tomorrow's session is about not just living with the pain, but growing through the pain. So what do we do? How do we face the pain? How do we overcome the pain? So this is more like if pain is a phase. This is a dark phase through which I have to pass. But how do I pass through, and not just pass through, but become better through that pain? These are two things we'll be discussing. And the fundamental broad principle we are discussing here is, as I said, understanding why is pain present in the world. That is very difficult. And there are different metaphors, and I will be focusing on one particular metaphor over here. That sometimes, broadly, let's look at 4 different metaphors. And one of them is, say, this world is Maya. So it's a place of illusion. If it's a place of illusion, now what does illusion mean? Well, one way is illusion is a dream. So if it's a dream, Jeeva Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole, as we sing that song. So then the idea is, if this is a dream, then our suffering is also like a dream. It's a nightmare. But the solution is, wake up. Wake up out of the dream. Now while this is true, it's valid, but it seems to almost trivialize the reality and the gravity of the suffering in the world. Say, if somebody is a doctor and they are an emergency surgeon and somebody has come with mangled hands and legs, do they just dismiss it as a dream? If our loved one, maybe our family member, is suffering, so what is waking up me in that context? So see, spiritual truths cannot be fully comprehended by any metaphor. Different metaphors help us to understand different aspects. So wake up, what it means in some ways is change your consciousness. It's not just change, it's like take your consciousness to another level of reality. Now, another metaphor is that this world is like a prison. So it's a prison, and then so here the metaphor actually is, the metaphor is a dream, now it's a prison. Now wake up means what? Change consciousness or elevate consciousness. Now if somebody is in a prison, the point is that you are in prison because you have done something wrong. So, correct behavior. Now these are two different, change consciousness and correct behavior are not the same thing. Somebody is in a prison, it is because they have done something wrong morally, legally, and now they have to correct their behavior. So this is, the idea in this world is Durga. Durga is a fortress which is like a prison. And the Trividitap in the world are because we are in the prison, the suffering is meant to get us out of the prison. So that's one aspect of it. But then the problem with, so each of these metaphors, they give us some practical thing to do, but at the same time they limit us in a particular. Can I have some hot water to do?
It's warm water.
Okay. Please keep it below. Sister wants to. So correct behavior. Now the problem with this metaphor is that what wrong did I actually do to land in this situation? Isn't it? We may say we have done some past karma in the past, but then it seems very unfair that we are going to suffer for something that we do not know right now. That we are fired from our job. And why? It's that, okay, no reason given. It feels so unfair. When somebody applies for a visa of a country and they reject the visa application. If they give some reason, okay, you applied in the wrong category or you don't have this qualification, you have to do this, then you can do something about it. But if they reject without any explanation, then it's just all the money I spent on the visa is wasted. I don't even know what to do. So no explanation. So this explanation that's a prison, it is true, but it does not practically help us in dealing with that particular situation. Okay, generically I have forgotten Krishna and I have to learn to remember Krishna and become devoted to Krishna. Now another metaphor is that this is like a hospital. Bhavaushada chotra manoviramaat. So Krishna Katha is like the medicine. It's Aushadhi. Harinam Aushadhi is the thing that is used. Krishna Katha. So now here it is not so much of correcting behavior, but it's like a treatment. That we are deceased and we are not deceased, we are deceased. We are existing. We are not dead. We are deceased and we need treatment. Now, with respect to the treatment metaphor, one reason I like this metaphor is, in both the other metaphors, like a dream and prison, these are more impersonalist or maybe more non-personalist metaphors. Because there is no role for Krishna. You are in the prison, you correct your behavior and you get out. You are in a dream, you have to wake. But in the hospital metaphor, Krishna is the doctor, Krishna is the physician. And Krishna is not causing the pain, Krishna is not the jailkeeper, Krishna is not the person who has kept us in the dream. Krishna wants us to come out. So this is a more devotional metaphor. That's why the Bhagavatam repeatedly uses that, by hearing the message of the Lord, we can become purified and we can become liberated. The hospital metaphor, now we could say the problem here we can discuss is exactly how did I get infected? What caused the infection? How did the infection begin? And it's a question again. So the start can be a question that remains over here. But so the idea is to take the treatment. In one sense, this is more directly empowering because many times what happens? We may not know what caused a particular disease, but this is the disease and this is the treatment for it. Like sometimes there will be cancer which may be, we don't know what is the cause. Otherwise because of pollution. Well, everybody faces pollution, why did I get cancer? Isn't it? So it's not really so easy to know. But what caused it is not known, but still the empowerment, at least I can take some treatment. Now, the metaphor which we are going to focus on, I'll talk about all the metaphors, but is that it is this world is like a university. So the point is that we need to learn. The focus is on learn. Now we can say learn lessons. And that's true, but what the lesson we want to learn is learn what counts. or really what ultimately counts. That is the lesson. It is not learning some engineering, some math, some language skills, but by going through life, we learn what ultimately counts in life. And by that, ultimately, we shift our focus from the temporary to the eternal, from the world to the Lord who is the source of the world. So, in this metaphor, again, Krishna is the person who is going along with us in the journey. Just like a teacher goes with the student, teacher takes the student along. Now, one problem with the hospital metaphor often is that, now, my favorite metaphors are hospital and university. The hospital focuses on Krishna's agency. Like Krishna is with us and for us, helping us heal through the suffering, cure the suffering and heal. Now, this metaphor, the positive, is that we focus on Krishna's compassion. Now, the metaphor of the university is good because it also focuses on, its positive is that it focuses on our endeavor. Because if we are taking treatment, the primary onus is on the doctor. The patient simply has to cooperate with the treatment, submit to the treatment. The patient doesn't have to do much. As contrasted that in the university, the teacher has a lot of work, but the student has to do the majority of the work. Teacher works hard, but the student has to work harder. So the idea is that our endeavor, the value and the importance of our endeavor is recognized over here. Now, one problem here might seem that if you are in university, nobody tells us what exactly the syllabus, what are you going to study, what is the structure, when is the exam going to come. So every test is a surprise test. And it's not a surprise test, it feels like a shock test. But the idea is that, so today what we are going to discuss, the theme of this is, the world is like a university, and it's a university of adversity. Like we have University of Engineering, University of Medicine. I was in America, I was invited to a college. Actually, I had 4 college programs in one day, one after another. So I had lost track of which college I was going to. So when I was going to the 4th college, I asked the devotees, okay, which college am I going to? So the name of that college was, this is the American University of Illusion. So it was basically about movies. How to make movies, how to create effective illusion. So the idea is that, what is the syllabus of this university? That is, this world is a university of adversity. So adversity means that it is through the reversals, through the pain. The pain itself is the syllabus of the university. And another reason I like this metaphor for is that, like, if we pass an exam, then we go to the next level. If we don't pass the exam, then we have to redo the same exam. So when we go through a pain, if we learn what is to be learned, then we won't go through the same pain again. If we don't learn from that pain, then we keep repeating the pain. In psychology, people talk about self-destructive behaviors. When somebody goes through something, a self-destructive behavior can be in terms of addictions, but it can also be done in terms of emotional patterns. That somebody is insecure, and out of insecurity, they seek relationships which are unhealthy. And when one unhealthy relationship doesn't work out, somehow they're battered, they're wounded, but they're so insecure that immediately they rush into another relationship. And they keep repeating the patterns. So the idea is for us, we need to learn. So we will focus on the university metaphor. And the greatest pain in the world is death. So for Arjuna, when the Bhagavad Gita is spoken, so how does this metaphor of university of adversity apply for Arjuna? See, there are different kinds of pains in life. And Arjuna, in one sense, faced the greatest pain. What are the different kinds of pain? We could put them in 3 degrees. One is adversity. So adversity can be used as a basic denominator for all pain. But there is adversity and there is atrocity. So I think last time when I had come, we had talked about the difference between these two. You guys remember the difference between adversity and atrocity? I was giving a class to some young people in India. They're the college students. Now, in India, for Indians, often English is not so easy for them. So one boy, he said, this question is both adversity and atrocity for me. So, adversity and atrocity. Any thoughts about the difference between these two? Okay, how many of you think there is a difference between these two? Okay. How many of you think there is no difference? Okay. How many of you think the difference does not make any difference? So, aho kashtam, aho anyaya, yaduyam dharmananda. When Bhishma sees Yudhishthir, he talks about this. Aho kashta. Kashta is adversity. Aho anyaya. Anyaya is atrocity. So adversity is more natural. That means if a flood occurs, if a famine occurs, if a tsunami occurs, that is natural, that is adversity. So atrocity is more intentional. It's done by someone. So if our power supply goes off, that is adversity. When we came to know our neighbor cut off our power supply, that is atrocity. So now, both of these, among these two, which is more difficult to deal with? So all of these are talking about bad happens. Or we could say, yeah, it's a bad situation. Some pain, it's a painful situation that has come upon us. But Arjuna, for him, there was something worse. It is, I'm using the word agony over here. Agony is, in first two, what is happening is, bad things are happening to us or bad things are done by us, or done to us. But agony is where a bad thing has to be done by us. Life brings us to a place where we have no good choices at all. As they say, damned if you do or damned if you do. So both choices are bad choices. What do we do at that time? So suppose we have two children, and both of them are very good at studies, and both of them have got opportunities to go to a big university. But we have enough money only to send one child to the university. What do we do at that time? There is no good choice at that time. So for Arjuna, fighting and not fighting, both were extremely bad choices. Because if he fights, he has to kill Bhishma and Drona, especially. And that was the most painful for him. Because Bhishma and Drona are not just elders. These are the elders from whom he learned archery. These are the elders for whose pleasure he learned archery. But these are the very same elders that he has to kill with the same archery. So this is unbearable pain for him. On the other side, if he does not fight, Duryodhana will attack and kill his loved ones. Even if he does not fight, it's quite likely that Bhima will want to fight. The war will be more brutal. Even if they win, there will be more casualties. And even if they get Duryodhana to stop, Duryodhana may let the Pandavas go, but then later Duryodhana will go after everyone who supported the Pandavas. Because before the war, both sides were looking for allies. And those who chose the Pandava side, Duryodhana will want to get back at them afterwards. And Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, as a natural protector, will not be able to live with himself if he knows that because of me, because of supporting me, they all got into trouble and I am doing nothing to do with it. I got them into trouble. So there is no good choice for him. And in one sense, this theme of agony. So Arjuna has this question, what really matters? This is exactly the question that is, as I said, the syllabus of the University of Adversity. What really matters? So what matters is it initially, he frames it as kingdom versus relatives, versus specifically elders. And he initially comes ready to fight, but when he actually sees on the battlefield everybody there for the fight. That moment when it finally comes. A devotee friend of mine in Canada, he is a family lawyer, family attorney. So family attorney basically means a divorce attorney. That's what a big functions. So this is many times when a couple are fighting, I can't live with you, and it becomes very bitter. But finally when they come in the court and they are facing each other and fighting each other, now, do we really want to do this? Is this really going to happen? There is that hope, somehow this will be avoided. Something will happen, someone will relent and it won't happen. So Arjuna has fought with the same army before at Virat. But at that time, he had no intention to kill them. He wanted, that war was primarily for deterrence. To show them how much power we have, so better don't mess with us, give us back our kingdom. But in this war, the stakes were much higher. One side was not going to go back alive. And therefore, that time Arjuna, when he saw this, that this is the reality, the irreversibility, the brutal finality of what was going to happen, he lost heart. So he lost heart means he says, isn't really the kingdom really worth it? And he was thinking, I am being noble-minded by prioritizing my elders over a kingdom. But it's not that simple. That was not what was. So whenever there's a difficult situation, there are two options. As I said, both are bad. So how we view those options is important. So Krishna, when he tells him, it's not a matter of your kingdom versus your elders. It's a matter of dharma versus adharma. Yudhishthira is dharmic and Duryodhana is adharmic. And if you do not fight this war, then what is going to happen? Adharma will prevail. And Krishna is saying, I am not going to let that happen. So Krishna has said earlier that I come to dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And that is what he's saying, that vinashaya dushkritam. So he's saying that next verse we'll talk about is that by my arrangement they are all already killed. I am here. Lokan samahartum iha pravutta. I have kalosmi lokakshetra pravutta. That I have come here as destructive time. And destruction is inevitable. Whether you are a part of it or not, it's going to happen. So then, that means the idea is, our title of the prayer was that we have to be creative about holding on while letting go. So sometimes there's a situation where there are two bad choices and each choice means you have to let go of something. And I don't want to let go of either. But I have to. So many of you are from here, most of you are from here, from India. Now when you came from India, you had to let go of India. Now, some of you may be very happy when you came to Australia, but there are some aspects of India. We have the extended community, we have the family support, we have the familiarity of the culture, that social support and social network that is there, that we miss it over here. One thing which almost everybody Western world misses is the paid help. You have to do all your housework here. So there are things which we miss from there. So we don't want to let go of that. But you have to let go if you come here. Now, that may not be that both options are bad options. You probably chose this option. But we all face the situation that should I stay here, should I do this or should I do that? And if both options are bad, what do we do at that time? So that is the time when again the question comes, what really matters? What is most important? So let's look at paragraph. So sometimes, in one sense, when death comes upon us, that also is a forceful reminder of what really matters for us. And when we learn to become conscious of Krishna, it gives our vision of death also. In one sense, death can be seen as an irreversible loss, and it is true at one level. But death, nothing thrusts that consciousness, thrusts that question into our consciousness more forcefully than death. What is the question? What really matters? What is most important? What ultimately counts? So, would I read next paragraph? Yes, please.
including Lord, you declare that it is you yourself who come as death. As you are always benevolent, your emphasis is not on how death finishes everything at the material level, but how it furnishes a portal to another level of being. Though death is destructive, it is meant to inspire me to be creative in my choices. My most consequential choice is in learning balance, and I live as an eternal spiritual being within a temporary material world. This balance centers on learning how to hold on while letting go. Help me to hold on to what draws my heart closer to you, even when it feels demanding, and help me let go of what pulls my heart away from you, even when it feels tempting.
Yes. So, the idea is death finishes everything at the material level, but death also furnishes a portal for another level. This is the primary reason why Krishna talks about Atma Gyan right in the beginning. See, if somebody has come to us with 5 questions or 5 issues, now when we are talking with them and when they are talking to us, we try to assess which is the issue pressing on their hearts the most. And then if we can address that right away, then the pressure on their heart decreases. And then they can listen to other things. Sometimes it may not be easy to address that issue. But if you can address that issue, then other things become easier to address. So Krishna starts first by Atma Gyan, not to primarily to remind Arjuna that you are not the body, you are the soul. Arjuna knows that already. It is to remind him that Bhishma and Drona are not their bodies, that they are souls. And you are fearing that you are going to kill them. How can I kill them? But Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya. For one who is born, death is inevitable. So the idea is that they are anyway going to die, but because they are virtuous, because they are devoted, they will get a better body. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunati naroparani. You give up old clothes and get fresher, better clothes. So like that, they will get a better body. And you are thinking that your arrows will cause pain to them. And how can you do that? But what you are missing is that as virtuous souls, they are in a painful situation. There they are obligated to fight on the side of Duryodhana. And by your arrows, you will be freeing their souls from that painful obligation. And therefore, there are 4 times in the series of verses 25 to 30 where Krishna says, first thing is that Natvam shochitum arhasi, Nainam shochitum arhasi, that Nanu shochitum arhasi. That same thing, Na shochitum, do not lament. So fighting against the Kauravas, even against Bhishma and Drona, that is not worth lamenting. Why? Because death is not going to finish, it's going to furnish a new portal. So we see death differently. Now after that, okay, they are not going to die, they will go to a higher level. But still that does not solve Arjuna's question whether the fighting is the right thing to do. So one question is, can I fight Bhishma and Drona? The second question is, fighting itself the right thing? So then the whole discussion, first Karma Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga, then Dhyan Yoga, Gyan Yoga, all the yoga discussions come up as an exploration to tell Arjuna what he should be doing. Even Karma Kanda comes as a part of that. So for us, when we face test in this university of adversity, when we face some painful situation, so at that time, this question, what do I need to let go? And what should I hold on? These 2 questions can help us face that situation much more calmly. Because normally, when we face a painful situation, like our plan has suddenly been disrupted. And the plan is disrupted, everything seems to fall. What's happening? Why is this happening? And instead of what can I, there are two questions that can really agonize us. Why is this happening to me? And why can't I do anything about it? These two questions, they are the pathways to frustration. Why is this happening to me? And why can't I do anything about it? So, our hope is, no, I should be able to do something about it. Yeah, and it is possible that we can do something about it. But quite often, at that time, there is nothing we can do about it. So, why is this happening to me? Sometimes at that time, there is no explanation for it. In the Bhagavatam, the first canto, when there's this, when Parikshit Maharaj is going out to search for the influence of Kali, and he sees Kali in the form of a impersonator king beating up the cow and the bull. At that time, the bull is actually Dharma and the cow is Bhumi. So he asks the Dharma, he chastises Kali, stops Kali, and then he asks the Dharma, what is the cause of your suffering? And Kali at that time replies, Dharma replies, Vakya Bheda Vimohita. Different people have had different explanations of the cause of suffering, and I don't know what is the cause of my suffering. So in moments of, so that is an example of how that particular point of suffering, when there is the moment of pain, that is the moment of pain is basically it is exam time for us. If we consider this a university, with the test time, the exam time. And the wrong questions to ask, what are the two wrong questions? Why is this happening to me? Now, when I say it's wrong, it is not wrong to ask this question. And if you can find out an answer, well and good. But if we cannot find out an answer, then staying stuck with that question, that is unhealthy. So if somebody who seems to be a friend with us is suddenly rude with us, then try to find, did I offend you in any way? We ask that person. We ask somebody else who knows that person. So trying to understand why this is happening to me is good. But the point is, when it's wrong is, we stay stuck. There is no logical answer to why this is happening. And at that time, we can't figure out. The second, so, why is this happening to me is more in terms of our jnanendriyas. How do we process it? And then, why can't I do anything about it? Why can't I do anything about it? This is also a very painful question. A feeling of helplessness. This is more associated with our karmendriyas. Basically, we interact with the world in these two ways, with our jnanendriyas and with our karmendriyas. So, these two are questions that are not healthy at that time. Maybe later on, we will learn something from that lesson, learn something from that situation, and maybe we will get answer to that question. But at that time, the questions to ask, what do I need to let go? So in each situation of pain that comes in, there is something that I need to let go. And then, second is, what should I, or what can I, let's put it both ways. I'll explain the difference between can and should later. What can or should I hold on to? So now these questions actually at an internal level open doors for us. Open doors for us. Now both these questions in one sense, they are subsets of the question, what really matters? What ultimately counts? So these questions, when we ask, they are very helpful for us to make some sense in the situation. Okay, this is what happened, now what do I do about it? I started from India about 1.5 months ago to come to Australia. I was supposed to, on 25th I started, 27th was Ram Navami, 25th of March. And I had a 1-year multiple entry visa. And I came via Singapore. So I came to Singapore, and Singapore was a transit flight to Perth, where I was supposed to do the Ramanami class. And at Singapore, they told me that your Australian visa is not valid. Now, I said I have a valid Australian visa. It was a 1-year visa, and the validity was till September of this year. I said, no, it's not valid. Then I said, how is it possible? Then they said there's some website where you can go and check whether your visa is valid or not. So I went to the website, no, we don't find any record of this visa. So then I called up some devotees, there's a devotee, immigration migration attorney. And apparently this particular visa I had was 408 category. That is that it is a 1-year multiple entry visa. That's what is written over there. But the hidden clause is that after your first entry, all your subsequent entries have to be within 3 months. So after the first entry, after 3 months the visa gets expired. So that is not written anywhere on the visa. It is you have to actually know about it. So we tried to call the embassy and they said no, your visa is not valid. You have to apply again. And I had a whole plan. I was completely disoriented, not knowing what to do at that time. And not only generally before we started travel, we booked all the tickets also and all the itineraries planned. And at that time, I normally also use wheelchair for traveling. And then unfortunately, the way it worked out was, I said, why did you tell this to me in Mumbai if my visa was not valid? If you had told me in Mumbai, I would not have started off. So what had happened was, my flight was with 2 airlines. It was Indigo and Spirit. So Indigo asked me for my passport and my visa. They looked at it and they allowed me through. I don't know why they allowed me through. And then after that, now what had happened, the Spirit Airlines flight went away. And I normally need a wheelchair. They said that you are not associated with any airlines, so we cannot give you a wheelchair also. So I said, you can go over there and apply this visa, or you can do this or do that. Another thing that had happened was that because it was a connecting flight, my baggage had already gone to Perth. Or at least that's what I thought. So I didn't know what to do. At that time I was feeling, it's so ridiculous. If you don't have visa, tell me you don't have visa, I would come not have it. So that time the thing that helped me is okay, what? It is, why is this happening to me? That question is not helpful. Why can't I do anything about it? That question was not helpful. So what do I need to let go? Since nothing can happen without Krishna's plan. So if I am going there to serve Lord Ram, if this has happened, that means maybe this is not my service. So I need to let go of that. But what do I hold on to? So what do I hold on to? I am here to serve the Lord. So then I called the devotee in Singapore. And then I was stuck at the airport. I couldn't go anywhere. So they said, we'll try to apply for the Singapore visa. I had a Singapore visa, but I'd come for 1 month last year. So after 1 month it got over. As I said, sometimes normally it comes within 1 day. Sometimes it takes 2 days also. So your planning, is there a lounge I can stay in because I had to plan out what to do. So then the devotee applied for the visa and he explained that this is the situation. And he called me in 15 minutes and he said, your visa has already come. So life is sometimes unfair. And the Australian visa didn't work out. But the Singapore visa came very, very easy. So life is unfair, but sometimes life is fairly unfair. What that means is, one thing works out very much against us, but another thing works in favor of us. So then I thought maybe I can stay on in Singapore and I can do some program, maybe I can wait there. So we had no idea if we apply for the Australian visa again, how long will it take? So then I checked with Singapore devotees, they said that they had a whole series of other speakers for the next 2 weeks. And all those slots were busy. So then I was thinking, should I go back to India? And then I remembered that one devotee from Taiwan had met me and he said, whenever you have some time, come to Taiwan. So he called, so then I just messaged him. I met him only once. So I didn't even know whether he'll respond or not. And I messaged him and he just called back within 1 minute. He said, actually we had a speaker who was supposed to come for Ramnavami, but he cancelled. So can you come for Ramnavami? So I got a Singapore visa, and then he said, actually Taiwan, to get, do you have, if you have only Indian passport, it's difficult, but which other countries visa do you have? So I said, I have a New Zealand visa, I have an England visa, I have Canada visa. He says, all those visas are fine, any one visa, you come there, you will get Taiwan visa on delivery, on arrival. So then I stayed for, then I immediately, from the airport only, I applied for the Australian visa. It was online application. Then, as normally, Australian visa you just apply, and it's completely digital visa for Indians. But then, I got the information that you have to do biometrics. And then we checked on the Singapore embassy, there are no dates for biometrics available for 1 month. The devotee was helping me in that. He said that, let's explore a little bit. And then he found below in a small little, there's a walk-in facility available, but there is no predictability how long you will have to stay after work. You may have to stay for 6 hours, you may have to come back on the next day. So we said, let's try it out. So then the next morning we went at 8 o'clock and we went for walking. And so basically this was the day of Ramnavami. And then Taiwanese devotee was saying, are you going to come for Ramnavami or not? So I told her, I depend on the Singaporean immigration now. The Singaporean biometrics, the Australian embassy. So we went there and then we were waiting, and suddenly, like in half an hour, 45 minutes, I had the walk-in. And from the Australian embassy at Singapore itself, I went to the airport. Another devotee brought my luggage, and I went to Taiwan. And I reached Taiwan, and then when I was giving the Ramnavami class over there, mostly Chinese devotees. Okay, you call them Chinese, they don't like to call themselves Chinese. They're Taiwanese devotees, but most of them did not understand English, so everybody was translating. And when everybody was doing kirtan and I was telling Lord Ram's pastimes, and they were appreciating so much. But that time I felt that probably I would never have come to Taiwan if this visa had not been cancelled. So my plan did not work, but Krishna had some other plan. So I said, okay, I had to willingly let go of it. Okay, my Australia plan is not working. But when we let go of one thing, emotionally at least we let go of it, then we can hold on to something. Hold on to something. So hold on to what? Okay, I am a speaker. I want to serve Krishna by speaking about Krishna. So where can I do that? So the example, that one of my favorite examples is the Ganga. Gange Vaugam Ganga. Just as the Ganga always flows towards the ocean. Like that, our consciousness is meant to flow towards Krishna. If one path for the Ganga is blocked, the Ganga finds another path and keeps moving. And so, for this questions, this is what helps the river to move on. The river of our consciousness, it is able to move on, to find a way to move on. This happens when we, okay, what really matters? So in that, what do I need to let go of in this situation? And what can I hold on to? What should I hold on to in this situation? Suddenly somebody is fired, suddenly somebody gets a bad health diagnosis, suddenly some relationship issue comes up. So now when I say let go doesn't mean that the whole situation has to break down. But at this particular point, this is not working out. At this particular point, this has happened. I would much rather that this had not happened. But if this has happened, I need to come to terms with it. I need to accept it. So let go of, in one sense, let go of my plan, of my anticipation, my expectation. What I wanted to do, at this particular moment, I need to let go of my plan. But letting go of my plan is not passivity. So what can I hold on to in this situation? So in this, there are two aspects. Let's read that in the last paragraph. Here.
O merciful Lord, whether I live for the devotionally sportive or the devotionally disruptive is a choice I must make at every moment. If I do not become aware of how destructive death can be, I may never contemplate and confront this choice with gravity and urgency. Bless me to choose you more consciously and more creatively, so that I may relish your presence both here and hereafter.
Yes. So every moment we say we make a choice between remembering Krishna and forgetting Krishna. Now remembering Krishna and forgetting Krishna, when we use these words, they can seem a bit otherworldly and impractical. I have to face real challenges. When I'm born, maybe my colleagues are doing politics with me in office, or this is happening over here, that is happening over there. So what does remembering Krishna mean in that context? So the idea is, remembering Krishna means remembering that Krishna has a plan here. Remembering that Krishna has a purpose over here. So every situation, we make a choice between what brings us closer to Krishna or what takes us away from Krishna. Like what is devotionally supportive and what is devotionally disruptive. And between these two choices when we make, so the first thing here is that we need to look up before we look ahead. Look up to Krishna. What happens when I am looking ahead and my plan is disrupted? What will happen is I get frustrated. So if I wanted to go to this particular destination, it was my plan to get here, and when I am going here, suddenly some obstacle comes up. So I cannot get there. Now I can keep looking ahead and I don't find any way. So at that time what do? I first look up. So this is not moving forward. If I keep looking ahead, why is this not working? Why is this not working? Why is this person not listening to me? Then we'll be frustrated. But we look up. So this looking up, what does it mean? You can say it means remembering Krishna. Yes, that is true. But then it means remembering that Krishna has some plan over here also. And so this particular image we will talk about in tomorrow's session a little bit more. We'll build on this one here. So normally when we are in the normal course of life, for us the world is very big. And God, Krishna is small. Essentially in this universe there are these three truths. There will be many, many things, specific choices we want to make. Okay, this job or that job, staying at this place or that place. So many things. But everything that is happening in this world is an interaction of these three things. We call it as Jeev, Jagat and Jagadish. The three alliterative J's. So now, normally in the normal course of life, the world appears very big for us. And God is quite small. Yeah, He's there, He's not there. When I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, I was so enthused by the Gita's wisdom, I started sharing it with everyone. And I had a uncle. So he told me, God, yeah, I have a very good relationship with God. I said, good relationship. Okay, I had never seen him much go to a temple or talk about any spiritual things or even read any philosophical books or sacred texts. So I said, what do you mean by a good relationship? So he says, mutual non-interference. He is happy there, I am happy here. That is an example of what? That God is so small as to basically irrelevant. The problem with it is, I may be happy here right now, but I won't be happy forever. So now, when we remember Krishna, what happens by that remembrance is, the world starts becoming smaller and Krishna starts becoming bigger. So this is an essential change. I said earlier that the problem may still be there, but we don't want to live in pain. We try to live with the pain. So when the world is very big, the problem from the world will seem overwhelming, crushing, devastating. But when the world becomes smaller and Krishna becomes bigger, then the world's problem also doesn't seem so big for us. We understand that, yes, I am a soul and I am a survivor. There have been many problems in my life. I have survived those problems. And this problem also I will survive. So that confidence, as Krishna becomes bigger, what is the effect on our consciousness? If this is my consciousness here, and extend the world is big, the problem becomes big for me. But as the world becomes smaller for me, then the problem also becomes smaller. And here, what happens? Because the world is big, Krishna is small, so Krishna is small over it. I have my plan, and my plan is to work. Yeah, Krishna, what does Krishna want? Okay, I don't really care. We don't actually say that, but we just don't care so much. But as Krishna becomes bigger for us, so the world with its problem becomes bigger, smaller, and Krishna becomes bigger. And in this way, we can stay calm even in the face of that pain. We are not so disturbed by that problem. And now, of course, I'm not disturbed, that is good. But I still have to deal with the problem. So that will be the second part. Tomorrow we'll discuss. Bhakti at one level is acceptance of the situation. But it is also the acceptance of the responsibility to serve Krishna in that situation. So then what do I do? So one aspect is, okay, this test, I didn't want this test to come, but the test has come. I accept it. But okay, now how do I pass the test? So what matters? What matters is Krishna. And we seek relief in that situation by remembering Krishna. We are not so overwhelmed by it. But then after that, okay, how can I best serve Krishna in this situation? That is about not just living with the pain, but it is about going through and growing through the pain. It is about facing the situation and emerging stronger through it. So that we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. I'll summarize what we discussed today. Our topic was broadly facing problems. Specific title was that? The University of Adversity. So I talked about three main points today. The first point was that the pain and God, what is the relationship? How do we make sense? And for that, now we understand that the pain is a part of the Maya of the world. But then what does it mean? We discussed 4 metaphors to make sense of this. And we are focusing on 2 of those metaphors. The first metaphor was, this is like a dream. The idea is wake up from the dream. And that is also true. But then it seems to, what do I do right now? Because I'm still in the dream, I can't suddenly wake up. Then the second is, it's a prison. So I have to reform myself. I don't know what exactly I did wrong to correct it. So in the long run, I can reform myself, I can become more devoted. But it doesn't help us to immediately deal with the problem. They're valid, but these are more long-term solutions. They call for long-term action. What a third metaphor? It's like a hospital. Now hospital, it at least assures us of Krishna's help, Krishna's love. That Krishna is on our side. Krishna is not causing the suffering. Krishna is wanting to cure the suffering. The pain is there in the hospital until the activity. The pain is not caused by the doctor. The doctor is there to cure the pain. The last metaphor was university. So in the university, the advantage of this is that the focus is on our actions. Our actions are important. What do I learn? And the key lesson to learn is what really matters. That is ultimately what matters is what we have to learn in life. And then we discussed the example of Arjuna in the Gita. That his pain was not just, so how do we apply this? We discussed that Arjuna's pain was not just adversity. Adversity is something bad naturally happens. The second is atrocity. Somebody does something bad to us. And third is agony. Agony where we have to do something bad. Not just something bad happens, but it is we who have to do something bad. And for Arjuna, the question was, which is worse? Is the kingdom is gaining the kingdom is losing the kingdom is worse, or gaining the kingdom is better, or losing my elders, that is worse? So he tends to think that losing my elders is far worse, and therefore I should not fight. But Krishna gives him a bigger vision. That this fight is not just about you and your kingdom or your relatives, it is a fight between dharma and adharma. And dharma is, so it is my plan that this war happen, and therefore this war will happen. So whether you participate or not, Therefore, in this question, so in processing the pain, we discussed that the question that helps us. So, when the moment of pain comes, the helpful question and the harmful question, you could say. The constructive question, the destructive, the unhelpful question is 2/4. What are the two questions? Why happened? Why is this happening to me? And why can't I do anything about it? So in general, at a philosophical level, we may understand the question that okay, it's because of karma or whatever. But that is not very practically, why can't I do anything? So the helpful questions are what? Yeah, what do I need to let go? And what can I hold on to? So in this situation, what do I need to let go? What can I hold on? So we discussed let go. What is it? It is my plan. Whatever it is, I need to let go of my plan. Okay, this is not going to work out. But what do I hold on to? First, it is Krishna, and then second is Krishna's plan. Or Krishna's plan for me. Krishna, the way I can serve Krishna. It will be Krishna's plan or Krishna's service. So, when we hold on to Krishna, what does that mean? That we look up to Krishna. When the problem is coming, that when I am here and on my destination, on my way to the destination, some sudden huge problem comes up, big obstacle comes up, then rather than becoming resentful of that obstacle or becoming frustrated and helpful, I look up to Krishna. So that is, this looking up to Krishna can at least give us some relief. It's not a solution, but at least some sense of strength. So the idea is, when we look up to Krishna, that Krishna who was smaller becomes bigger for us. Now Krishna is always big, but we are reminded that he is bigger. And when that happens, then the problem which is consuming our consciousness, that problem, what happens? It doesn't consume us so much. We don't have to live with the pain. We can live, we don't have to live in the pain rather. We can live with the pain, remembering that Krishna is the bigger reality. And my plan may not be working, but Krishna's plan is still working. So Arjuna, that was the conviction that Arjuna gets by hearing the Bhagavad Gita. Now, what do we do after that? That we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Do you have time for questions? Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Maharaj. It was very good class. In the book of the fourth question, they're talking about like why things is happening instead of like asking why me, why it is happening. You need to say, okay, what is my lesson into this? When we asking what is the lesson,
What is the lesson is also a very abstract question. Because what is the lesson is very difficult to know. That's why, as I said, what do I need to let go of? So the ultimate question for life in every situation is what ultimately matters. So when I say what ultimately matters, that does not mean that what immediately matters is not important. But so what is the lesson? It sounds a very nice question. Okay, there's some lesson to learn in suffering. But it is not very clear what do I do at this time. So that's why break the question out, what do I need to let go right now? And what can I hold on to right now? So, okay, if I'm working in an office where my boss is very disrespectful, no, what do I need to let go? Maybe, but that particular job is very important for me. I need it because I need the money, I need a career pathway. Then maybe what I need to let go at that time is my ego. It's not ego, I need basic self-respect. Okay, true. But if I need my job more than that right now, then that is the big thing and I need to let go of that. So basically, what is the lesson is not a question that necessarily leads us to clarity. That's why I'm asking these two questions. What do I need to let go in this situation? And what can I hold on to in this situation? That's much more constructive.
I have a question. So, when you are in a situation, so
certain criteria. After that, basically, we think, okay, we'll let this go. Because otherwise, if we do not think about anything and just let this go, it means we are not trying anything, right? So at some point of time, we need to decide, okay, what is that point?
Okay, good point. Okay, so the idea is, what does letting go mean, and when do we decide to actually let go?
Yeah.
So okay, so let go. We cannot let go of the meaning of letting go so easily. We'll dive into it deeply. Actually, this is much a part of tomorrow's session, but I'll explain some points here. See, letting go has multiple levels of meaning. So first is accept the present. Or put it more provocatively, stop fighting with the present reality. It's like, it is not necessarily that we are accepting defeat, but at least we put it in today's, like we have this Iran, America, Israel war going on. So we need a ceasefire with the present. Now ceasefire is not a peace treaty. It is not necessarily amicable resolution, but fighting with the present is not going to be helpful. This has already happened. So letting go means letting go of my plan of how this situation should have been. That is the first level of letting go. So for example, now I always like to have this whiteboard and this writing and explaining. Now sometimes I go for some program and they're not made the right. Now I told sometimes I forget to tell them, sometimes I tell them but they forget. Sometimes they remember but there's one main organizer and that organizer forgets to tell the other organizers. Somehow something goes wrong. So now when I have to give the class, I may have come mentally prepared with the idea that okay, I'm going to write and draw and explain. But I have to let go of it. That is not happening. Now, how can I ensure that it doesn't happen in future? That's a different question. But right now, so letting go means accepting the present reality. Stop fighting the present. Now, does that mean that I have to accept this as a permanent situation? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I go to some remote village where they don't have projectors at all. They don't have electric supply. It happens in India and some places like that. So, okay, that's a different situation. So, but the first level of letting go is accept the present reality. That is what we are talking about this stage. Now, after that, that means, why is this situation like this? No, this is like this right now. So accept that. Let go of my desire for the situation to be different. Now, having done that, now, how do I act? So, the way I accept is first I remember Krishna. So, I remember that this is also a part of Krishna. This couldn't have happened without Krishna, without wanting it to happen, at least without Krishna allowing it to happen. Krishna has some plan to this also. Now, after that, how do I act? There can be multiple options in this. We'll discuss each of these options tomorrow. What in open psychology we call about fight, flight. What is the third one? Freeze. Yeah, these are not the most healthiest ways of doing things. But we could say that the way I will use these words is that I decide to mitigate the situation. I decide to, okay, mitigate means what? Let's make something. So let's do something. So one time I had a technical presentation to do. I said, we will make some plan. So we got a whiteboard and I wrote on the whiteboard throughout. Or one time what I had to do was that we all joined on Zoom. And I was writing my tablet, everybody looking at the Zoom on their phone. So we worked that way. So I decided to fix the situation. Mitigate the situation. A flight would be, this is, I have never done this. I'm not going to give the class. Emigrate. I just leave. So normally this should not be this is not a healthy option. And sometimes I decide to tolerate. So freeze is not the best word. Freeze means stay in place, I'm saying, in a healthy way. So these are unhealthy, these attitudes are unhealthy, these words. They are fight, flight or freeze. But the healthier response in the same direction is, I stay in the situation, try to fix the situation. I leave the situation, or I stay in the situation and accept the situation. So all three options are valid. So now, so this is the second stage of when do I let go and when do I. So what does letting go mean? Letting go could mean that I have to live with the situation. Letting go could mean I just leave the situation. Or holding on. I'm not going to let go of this. I let go of this for the present moment, but for the future we have to fix it. So all three options are there. So we'll explore these from a more philosophical perspective along with some incidents from the scriptures tomorrow. So first is accept the situation and then act to be of some service even in that situation.
Thank you.
The reason why Arjuna was miserable at the beginning of the Gita was because he thought that there were only two options: Kul Dharma versus Kshatriya Dharma. And in fact, in the fifth Parva of Mahabharata, the Udyog Parva, there's a huge debate amongst the Pandavas. What should they actually follow? I mean, whether Kul Dharma or the Varna Dharma, Kshatriya Dharma. The Varna Dharma is based primarily on our nature, talent and interest basically, because Kul Dharma is our horizontal relationship. So coming back to the point that you made, beautiful points you made. So in order for us to hold on to Krishna, which is our vertical relationship, in a way we subordinate our horizontal relationship. We were discussing Anasakti, Anvishanga, Kudadara, Hagre, Adishu. So we subordinate that part completely for the sake of the vertical relationship. And we subordinate or subdue the Varna nature as well, isn't it? Am I interpreting it correctly? So number one, Varna is nature is very important, extremely powerful. It's the constellation of talent and interest. So we subordinate that, subdue that rather, and then we subdue the horizontal relationship, as Krishna says in 13.10, and then and together they will allow us to pursue the vertical relationship, which will actually result in Krishna becoming bigger than the things that we were initially holding on to. So we need to let go of other things. We need to hold on to Krishna, and in the process we subordinate our psychophysical nature as well as our horizontal relationship. Am I correctly interpreting it?
I think this is a topic for the two of us to discuss privately because there's a lot of, but I'll explain since you already raised the question. The idea is that, see, Arjuna's dilemma is on one side is his relations. So we could say that is the horizontal relationship we have with the world. So in general, we have horizontal relationship with others and we have a vertical relationship with Krishna. So on one side is the horizontal relationship for Arjuna, the other side is his Varna, his Swabhava, his nature. These are Kshatriya. So now about this is Krishna. So the question is that, do we, as I said, we subordinate our relationship with our family and we subdue our nature so that we serve Krishna. And in one sense, what you're saying is exactly what 1866 is saying. Sarva dharma antartyajya mamekajya. So whether it is the dharma born from our nature or dharma born from our relationships, all of them need to be ultimately deprioritized. Parityajya is a very strong word. Parityajya is to give up, but I'll put it as deprioritized when it comes to a service to Krishna. Now, in principle, this is true. In practice, it is that we still live in the material world. We still have a material body. and we still have to serve Krishna through the material body in the material world. So Krishna may be my highest priority above everything material. But still, that highest priority we have to pursue through something material in the world. So, in that sense, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, we could say, Arjuna chooses to fight. So he is serving Krishna through his Varna. But his self-conception is not that I am a Kshatriya, so I am fighting. That is the initial level of instruction that Krishna gives in 231-32. In which chapter Atma Gyan, he says that Kshatriyasya navikampati. That he says that Swadharma apichaveksha navikampitum arhasi. Dharmyad yuddha chayonya Kshatriyasya navidati. For a Kshatriya, fighting is a natural duty, and that's what you should do. But at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna calls to Arjuna for surrender, Arjuna's response is not that I am a Kshatriya, therefore I will fight. His response is Karishye Vachananta. I will do your will. So it's not so much rejection of the material for Krishna's sake. It is reconnection with Krishna through the right materials. It is which material is material thing or which material pathway, which material action will help me to serve Krishna in this situation. So, say, now I am a brahmachari. So in one sense you could say that I have renounced the world. But after renouncing the world, I could be doing many services. But then I also have my swabhava. I am not so much a manager, I am more of a writer, educator, thinker. So that I am serving Krishna according to my nature. But then, if I had not been a brahmachari, I would have been probably studying science or engineering or doing some research or whatever. I would have been practical. I probably got into teaching there. So, but there are subjects I would be very different. So, in one sense, my connection with Krishna is stronger because I am speaking about Krishna. But at the same time, I am serving according to my soul. So, all of us, nobody can give up everything material completely if they have to function in the material. If somebody goes in the Himalayas and takes prior with, okay, I'm going to fast to death, and remembering Krishna, and I'll go back to Krishna, then that's possible to renounce everything material. So that's why, in general, in the practice of bhakti, like in devotional decision making, I prefer not to make the decision as between material versus spiritual, or rather spiritual versus material, because that seems to be, while philosophically accurate, it's not very practically applicable. So, but then when you say, no, actually, if you're raising money for Krishna, then that is spiritual. But then if I decide to take a more high-paying job, by which I can earn more money for Krishna and more for Krishna, is that material or spiritual? But if I say, that's also spiritual. But if in pursuing that high-paying job, I become so caught in that job that I no longer will practice bhakti. And was the job spiritual and then became material? And so what happens is, this categorization of spiritual and material is not that easy. So better we focus on what is favorable versus what is unfavorable. What is anukul versus what is pratikul. So, if we are in a situation where we have a family and we are responsible for family, and now our family are not really opposed to our bhakti, they may not be supportive, but they are not opposed. Then we may say that is not a favorable situation, but that is not exactly an unfavorable situation. Not that they are stopping you from practicing. So, okay, I may have to balance both of them, but taking care of my family is also part of my service to Krishna. It may not be a direct service, but it is service. So, when this material spiritual differentiation comes up, it can be very black and white and short-sighted. This is material, so I will reject it. So that doesn't really work so well. When I was primarily doing college outreach in India, it happened once that I was in IIT Kharagpur, and one boy came 2-3 months. He was introduced to bhakti and became very enthusiastic. We call this the first 6 months, 1 year, or something like the honeymoon phase in Krishna consciousness. Everything seems wonderful and this boy said that, I want to, he was an IIT, quite a brilliant student, and he said that all this studies is temporary. I want to give up and join the project. And he says, no, you just joined over here, complete your degree. Life is a long journey. First have some degree, have some work experience. If you still have your desire to join, you can join after that. He said, no, I want to join it. I said, no, wait. So he was not convinced. Then we took them all for a tour to Mayapur. And then Mayapur there was a senior preacher named Bhagavatam class. And somehow it happened that Bhagavatam class was on the Bali Maharaj Shukracharya pastime. And after that pastime, after hearing this class, he came to me. I decided to join the Brahmacharya Ashram in Mayapur. I said, what happened? He said, I got a realization from this class. He said, I am Bali Maharaj and you are Shukracharya. I want to surrender to Vishnu, but you are stopping me, therefore I reject you. Now, he joined the ashram, he stayed there for 3 months, and then he ran away from it. And then it was very messy. Because it's a top university, then they are concerned about what happens to the students. And then it created a lot of problems. Because what happened was, we had a youth center over there. And the way it came out, this youth center got this boy to become a brahmachari, and they're taking our engineers away. And they raided our youth center. And they shut down the youth center. And then we showed up. So we had been there for many years, and we had many students. And many of the students are toppers. So we showed them that their concerns were alleviated. But what happened was, this was not only trouble for him, but trouble for everyone else. That's why thinking, okay, my studies are material, and becoming full-time brahmachari is spiritual. That kind of polarized vision is not very healthy. That's why focus on what is, do I need to subordinate or subdue my swabhava? Sometimes it's required. So when I joined, although my primary nature is teaching and studying, when I had joined in the temple in Pune, it was a small temple, very small community. So everybody had to do whatever service was required. So at that time I did management, I did so many other services also. Now, so sometimes we have to subordinate, I would say give up our swabhava, but do some service which is not necessarily according to our swabhava. In the Pandavas, when they were Agyatwas, for a warrior like Arjuna to become a dancer, he said, it is how much is it completely opposite to his dharma. But sometimes that's called apad dharma. In the emergency, it's required. So that will not be a long-term service, but sometimes it's required. So that's why, rather than material spiritual, focus on what is temporary, focus on what is untemporary. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta ki jai. Gaur
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for very enlightening class and very practical also. And thank you for sharing your experiences. To know that how to deal with situations in a very practical, I would say. Thank you so much for that. And for all the devotees, tomorrow we have program again, second part. And tomorrow's program is being held in Quakerson in Ratisha Govinda Prabhu and Sai Sharma.